assalamu alaikum, good morning, khush aamdeed, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Begeragle, ni hao, Junushume, Washvale, Ohio, Gonzaimas, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifahal, Hale Shumachatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Puna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabiha, Balli Kareaya, Ishpata, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to PTV World. You're watching World this morning. Jummah Mubarak. With me, I have the very amazing, the very lovely, the very pretty Shiza Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. Hello, Shiza. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Shahzad. Thank you so much for asking. I'm doing great, alhamdulillah. Jummah Mubarak to everyone watching, like you already said.
Yeah.
Please remember Shahzad Khan, myself, and my entire team in your prayers. And I've said this before, I'll remember you guys too, for whoever who's watching. What are your plans for the weekend today?
All right, I certainly do not
Because
have
it does start today, though.
I certainly do not have any plans for the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I think that the only thing I'm going to do is spend time with my family, be with my parents, and, you know, just be a happy guy. I think that's it. Work out, you know, probably focus more on what I want to achieve in life as well, because after a long, long time, this will be my first ever weekend after a long, long time that I'll be off on both the days as well. And because for a longer period of time, I never got the chance to actually sleep over the weekend as well, because we were working. You know, South Africa was visiting Pakistan, you know, the test matches were on. So Alhamdulillah, I'm glad that I was very busy. But there's this one thing which I want to talk about before we get started with the conversation. And that is that, you know, so I've always prayed to Allah Almighty that, you know, aap kaam de, main kaam karunga. You know, so this is what I wanted to do as well. And then Alhamdulillah, you know, there was this rush of work as well. And then, you know, it was so much that, you know, there was one day I was just lying down on the sofa, just like this. And I was like, okay, man, I need to go back to work. And I was all sleepy and I was tired. And, you know, just in my heart, I was like, Allah, okay, I need a little bit of rest too as well. And there it was. And I got the call that, okay, you know, you can take like 7 to 10 days off, and then we'll have you back at work.
That's nice.
I was like, wow, man, Allah. So, you know, have you ever felt this connection with Allah?
Well, all the time, though, actually, of course. And I feel like, you know, ever since I was a child, I've been told that prayers are magical. I mean, it's literally magic. You say it, and over a period of time, or whenever Allah finds fit, He is going to make it sure that you get what you prayed for. It is not just in monetary or material terms, ladies and gentlemen. There are so many things that one prays for or wants. Like you said, that this is probably the weekend. I mean, it's been a long time since we're getting work, yes, but in my case, I was well catering to people for a very long time, even on weekends. And this weekend, it's finally me and my husband, we're gonna be well free. I hope so, fingers crossed. And we decided rather than just, you know, staying home and being lazy, we'll go parasailing. I've never been to Khanpur Dam, so fingers crossed. In fact, I'll share my experience with you guys.
I hope you're out there and you're listening as well. But it's perfectly all right. I just have one small message, and then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to introduce the topic as well, and that is that ever since I've stepped into being a businessman, there are a few things which I have observed, and that is that, you know, that the people out there are very ruthless. You know, they really do not work with their morals. They do not have a lot of work ethics as well. But there's one thing you always need to remember, that, you know, what kind of family you're representing in the first place. You have to talk about your faith in Allah Almighty as well, and please make sure that you never leave behind your morals. Whatever was taught to you by your parents as well. Just because other people are not fair, it does not mean that you're going to be unfair to them as well. You really need to hold the rope of Allah Almighty and make sure that you work with the best of your intention.
And Shahzad, I have to say this, I'm so proud that, because now, mashallah, I see you venturing into this new thing in your life as well. And I'm so proud that you have this mentality, unlike a lot of people who just want to bring harm or bad to the world as well. Well, so really happy for you, and then I guess your parents who brought you up. It's not really you, right? It's them.
Exactly.
But ladies and gentlemen, that's how it is. But today we need to talk about something that, well, one aspect of it we definitely have been touching for so long now. But this particular one, I think we sort of explicitly missed out on, and I'll tell you what. So the education part of the entire country, actually the entire world, was compromised, yes. In the initial few months, Shahzad, I think people just didn't know, especially educational institutions, schools, universities, or the lawmakers for that matter, what to do with them. So education was compromised, yes, but then there was a swift transition, everything moved online. The one part of the education, the aspect, like I said, we did not probably talk about is if there is a role of the education institution itself
Yeah.
to educate the children about the pandemic.
Exactly.
Is it just going to be the syllabus that or the curriculum that you have to study, or is it going to be general information about the world or
Yeah.
where the world is going in terms of the pandemic?
Exactly.
And
Our
Shazad's
morning
arm
coffee is
just
here.
went.
Our
Yes.
morning coffee is here for our
Thank
guests
you
as
so
well.
much, Iftikhar Bhai.
Yes,
And
exactly.
your arm just went out of the frame. So
Yeah, I
yes,
know.
ladies and gentlemen, this is what we need to discuss. And for that, we are going to be in conversation with some amazing, amazing people who are actually not just making, well, definitely a change in the education system over here, but they are cognizant of the fact that they have a responsibility to educate people about what's going on. I like
Exactly,
that.
and it is very important as well, ladies and gentlemen. So without any further ado, we're lucky that we've actually been joined by an educationist, somebody who's always a regular on our program, and since it's going to be Ramadan in like 1.5 months' time
We'll
as
request
well,
him again.
So we'll request him again as well, and he's got a wonderful understanding of how the religion needs to be understood in the first place, and then how he imparts knowledge is something which is very phenomenal as well. He's a historian as well. He is Professor Dr. Abdul Basit Mujahid Sahab. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Welcome
Thank you
back,
very
sir.
much for joining us, sir. It's always wonderful to have you.
Pleasure. Always pleasure to be in this program.
Jazakallah, sir. And alongside Professor Dr. Abdul Basit Sahab, ladies and gentlemen, it's like a dream come true. I always wanted somebody from this very institute to come over here on our show as well, because by far, ladies and gentlemen, they are the largest ever network of colleges over here in Pakistan, making sure that they're going to impart the best knowledge as well. He is, ladies and gentlemen, the director of Rawalpindi, in fact, Punjab Group of Colleges as well. And ladies and gentlemen, PGC is a household name. You know, wherever you might go, you will actually find a student from PGC as well. He is Mr. Muhammad Akram. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam.
Sir, thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you.
My pleasure to be.
So to get the conversation started, Professor Dr. Abdul Basit Sahab, you know, I think I'm going to ask my first question from you as well, and that is, recently we have seen that universities and institutes and schools and colleges are opening up. You know, we're coming back to that normal life, which we used to call normal as well. But we believe that it is the responsibility of these institutes to make sure that they make their students aware of how fatal and deadly this coronavirus can be, and then make sure that they behave accordingly. So what kind of initiatives are being taken by, for that matter, Quaid-e-Azam University, Allama Iqbal Open University, or all the other universities as well?
In fact, as you have already mentioned that this coronavirus is very fatal, and whole the globe is facing it. And as in intro you were discussing that to somehow our whole life routine was disturbed. Rather, we have to readjust the things, and the term new normal we adopted, and still we are going through it.
Yes.
So as we were having our students, our visitors, and faculty, and our officials in our educational institutions, now by the blessing of Almighty Allah, the institutions are reopened, but still we have to be very careful, and in all educational institutions, particularly in universities, we are taking care of this thing, that there must not be heavy gatherings, and whenever there would be class sessions, so there must be proper social distancing, and at the same time students must wear mask properly, and they must sanitize their hands, and at the same time almost all the universities, colleges, they have now bifurcated students into at least two groups.
Right.
At a time, one group is coming for 2 days, and then other group is coming, because the facilities at campus is not for this sort of situation.
Of course.
So classrooms and laboratories and libraries, so this is now we are trying to cater these needs of this particular very, what we could say, carefully dealing with this pandemic and after pandemic situation. We see all over the globe still cases are going on, and we must also take care of not only society, our family, but our own selves, because if we are not taking care of our own selves,
Yes.
we can be fatal to others as well. So
Absolutely.
educational institutions are taking these steps, and at the same time for awareness, media and educational institutions and our masajid. These are the three places from where people get inspiration, and they take very serious the advices. So we are doing all these things, and we are also praying, and particularly today is Jumatul Mubarak, that may Allah prevent whole humanity from this pandemic
Ameen.
as soon as possible. We get through from this thing, and we have to be very careful, in fact.
Absolutely, and that is an amazing message as well, and a good prayer as well. Ameen to all of that. But here's the thing, Shahzada, I think we need to address the fact that why we are just talking about the youngsters or the school, university / college going students right now, because about roughly 64% of the population in Pakistan is the youth, right? And for some matter, they're also the trendsetters. So if we can actually bring them on the same page to adapt all these measures that have been put forward by the government and by their education institutions themselves, I'm pretty sure they will create a ripple effect. First of all, of course, in the school.
Yeah.
If some of them are doing, the friends want to follow as well. And then at home, if they are doing, the elders do sort of learn because they know the newest thing is going to be with the youngsters, right? So it is going to create a ripple effect. So moving on to...
And before you ask a question, I
Yes.
think it's a very humble request to everybody out there. Ke party na karen, you know. I think this is very important. Please make
Party
sure that
rope
you
day.
don't get together and kind of touch everyone as well, or shake hands or hugs for that matter as well.
Yes.
Please make sure that you don't do that, because you're actually making someone be at risk of getting that COVID virus, God forbid. And then not just that, there's no surety or guarantee that he's going to recover or she's going to recover. So God forbid if someone loses their life just because you were so careless about all of the SOPs in place, I don't think that you'll be able to forgive yourself.
Absolutely. So, Muhammad Akram Saab, your group of colleges, like Shahzad already mentioned, it's probably one of the biggest in
It's the
Pakistan
largest.
as well. So, you guys also adopted the hybrid system of education, like Mujahid Saab was mentioning? Like
Online.
some of the students would come and the others would be online?
No, we had two phases.
Okay.
First, there was a complete lockdown, and we had to switch online classes.
All right. Everything was online.
It was quite difficult at that time because institutions were closed all of a sudden, and our teachers couldn't even reach our studios or colleges or campuses for recording lectures and like this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sometimes were held up by
the families, right?
NCOC or family or police or like this. So it was quite difficult.
Okay.
During that phase, we tried to convince the students to stay home, stay safe, convince the parents to not to let them go out, and conducted online classes. But in second phase, our practical struggle started with the students when they came on campus. We planned to have daily contact with them,
Okay.
and we split the whole strength into two parts
Okay.
and two shifts. It reduced some number of classes and time, but we call our students on daily basis
Okay.
with half strength, exactly on the same pattern.
All right. All right.
You can call the students your full strength on alternate days, or you can call your half strength in one shift and then second shift. So we are going on first and second shifts.
Okay.
The best thing we could teach the students is to become a good model in front of them.
Right.
So first of all, we convinced ourselves, we convinced our staff, we convinced our teachers that we have to show practically what we expect from the students.
Exactly.
Right.
So
And
we
were the-
believe that students don't listen, they just
They
watch.
see in practice.
They
Yes.
watch and see in practice.
Yes.
So we started practicing all these things. That teachers won't go to their classes without shields or masks and like
Right.
this, and they won't sit together in the staff rooms, and they won't go to the canteen or cafeteria. We closed bookshops, we closed cafeterias, and we postponed or cancelled. We have a very extensive list of co-curricular and extracurricular
Yes.
activities in our colleges. We are known for that
Yes, I know.
on campus and outside campus. So although the students are demanding everything, but we convince them that's not the time to gather around, and that's not the time to party and like this.
Right.
So
Mohammed
all
Akram,
these
but you
things.
know, listening to your model, yes, it's amazing. But I feel like your larger struggle would have been with the teachers first because the students came in later. Like you said, the staff had to practice everything
Yes.
to impart what they were, you know, trying to preach as well. So did they feel like it's an extra burden? We don't want to do 2 shifts, or let's just do online and get done with it?
We can't deny that small part of being a part of that conspiracy. First, we are not convinced even. Okay, Corona, where is Corona?
We don't believe it.
And we don't believe it. And
Right.
then gradually, slowly, the people were convinced.
Okay.
Obviously, when we see our near and dear ones and the family, friends, people going through it, people losing their lives, and people having troubles, then obviously we, although reluctantly, we come to believe that, okay,
Yes.
Corona is there and it's a problem,
But
and a
thank God
serious
everybody's
one.
accepted it
And
now.
now everybody has accepted it.
Yes.
And Alhamdulillah, our teachers, our staff, they very meticulously followed the instructions.
That's nice.
Alhamdulillah, and it's very important as well. And teachers, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, in this part of the world are actually known as spiritual parents as well. And them following the SOPs obviously will make students follow all the SOPs as well, and there's no question about it. But
Yeah.
coming back to Professor Dr. Abdul Basit Sahab as well. Now, sir, when we're speaking about universities, there was this issue very recently when the universities opened up. So it was almost time that students had to appear in their examination as well. So there was this debate going on whether that, okay, if the classes were online, the exams should be online as well. Why do you think that the approach was very different, that, okay, you know, even if the classes were online, you still have to come to the university? Why were universities willing to have the students within their own campuses for their examination? Why weren't they given this leverage to, okay, be at home and, you know, be safe, you know, do whatever you guys want to do?
In fact, as Akram Saab was saying, that we have to adapt things gradually, and when we are on something to switch over to previous practice or something like that, we have this thing. And as you know that students of any level, starting from Montessori and up to PhD level, they have student mentality.
Yeah.
So as you know that, to be very frank, because students were having open book examinations last
Right.
semester.
I
in
had
every
my open book.
Yeah, of course.
Luckily.
And they are the most difficult ones anyways, you know, it's so hard to find a solution from an open book exam, ladies and gentlemen, that you
but-
really cannot do that.
No, but my students, they instead of following SOPs, in some cases they were sitting together and they divide their papers and question papers, so they can
So
solve
that's
that
the
issue.
reason. Okay.
No, but very seriously, the thing is that because now our state and government, they decided that we have to now restart our activities on campus.
Right.
So, what is my information, in most of the universities, exams were on. So, in some universities, the exams were also online. The universities which have a little bit late schedule, they called for face-to-face, like their presence in the examination halls.
Right.
But even then, all the universities, those who call their students for examination to campus or centers, they try to maintain a proper SOPs. Means if there is a capacity of 100 students, so they might
Yes.
invite students, half of them in a center,
Okay.
50 students or 40 students. So this was a double effort, even if they are calling students to campus. But one thing is more, we also must see and discuss this thing that sometime very difficult times, hard time, there is what we could say opportunity portion as well.
Right.
As you know that throughout the globe, we in the universities, we used to invite experts from outside the country, and they were coming, and visa process and financial burdens. So you see now everyone who is involved in education in one way or another, or research, they are now more dependent on gadgets.
Yes.
They are familiar with gadgets, and now you see this vlog and video conferencing and everything. This is so common, and We can utilize, if we want to have some views of an expert sitting in another continent. So this is very easy, very convenient, and now people are willing, even those of the senior generation, those who were not very familiar with the gadgets, they are also now have this habit to use this thing.
Are you referring to senior citizens over here?
You may say, I'm not reluctant to be senior. This is a privilege, in fact.
Isn't it a good thing, though? I
Yes, I'm saying. So see, where there is a problem, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that if there is a problem,
There's
very
always
close to that is easiness.
Ease, yes,
So as you see, our nation is a very strong nation, and you remember in 2005 we had an earthquake, and how it was calamity from the up above high. Like what the youth
They came
delivered
together,
at
yes,
that time,
absolutely.
and the opportunity. See, those cities are now rebuilt and everything. So one thing is, we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are not able to face any sort of azmaish or calamity or something.
Exactly.
But when there is something we have to face, we have to do this thing. And one thing more, as you were discussing, that in first wave, people were not believing, but in this, we were seeing here and there that remotely some people were affected with this. But now in this second phase, you see very closely we can see here and there people are going through this. So we must be very careful.
Absolutely.
And we also take very seriously SOPs.
Exactly, and it's very important as well. One last question before we wrap up, and I'll move on to Muhammad Akram Sahab over here. So Muhammad Akram Sahab, what I've observed in the recent days throughout the year is that, with online education, there wasn't really an improvement within the students, in terms of learning. Rather, what we saw was that, that the online classes were going on. Obviously, we had to look for alternates so that at least, from where they are, they should have been, at a lower position from there. Now, how do you think that the colleges and the institutes are actually going to make sure that their students are at par with the kind of knowledge is being delivered from the college and the teacher's point of view as well? Because they forgot upon quite a lot of things, and they really need to recall them, and then the examinations all of a sudden will not really be the right thing to do, because they've forgotten a lot of things.
It's a very complicated and complex
I
situation.
know.
The struggle for organizations and teachers doubled
Yeah,
in online classes.
exactly.
Recording and then all the process.
Things which
of
we were
it's
not used to of.
We were not used
Yes.
to it, and then it was quite expensive to be online and purchase things.
Yes.
Whether you are using Microsoft Teams and other medium, but it was quite easy for the students to mute the teacher or to turn off the camera or even to
Yeah, post a just put a picture right in front of the camera and be like, okay, I'm here.
yes.
Take classes from their playgrounds or from
Bedroom.
Playground.
Yeah.
And we have gone through certain very funny experiences also.
Yeah.
So teacher is asking the student, please say what I am saying. So he will say, sorry sir, I was in bazaar. I'll tell you after 5 minutes, please.
Okay.
So they just log in and then move around and enjoy
everything happens.
good time. But luckily we came on campuses now.
Yep.
And the level of classes I am dealing with, there is a quite sufficient time left with us in annual system.
Okay.
Our 90% of the classes, intermediate classes, part 1, part 2, they are in annual system. And the problem universities are facing, so luckily we are not facing that. Students are tuned to board exams.
Yeah.
Right.
They know that college is not going to examine them or assess them.
Exactly.
So they know it has to be on campus examination. But we try to tell them that you are lucky and you are unlucky both at the same time.
Okay.
You are unlucky because you would be compared with your seniors and with your juniors as well.
Yeah.
The sessions that preceded you or would follow you, they would be regularly coming to their classes. They would have the regular studies, and they would be better than you in professional organizations
Exactly.
when you join them.
Exactly.
So try not to take this time for granted.
Exactly.
That
Work
is
hard.
true.
and you'll face these problems in future.
Exactly.
That's what I personally teach my students. Otherwise, students are students.
Yeah.
They are just like kids. Some of them were even hopeful that their total FSC marks would be awarded on the basis of metric examination. So perhaps
So cute.
there might not be any second year examination as well.
Yeah.
So we had to tell them that that's not possible.
Yeah.
Too good to
After
be
all,
true.
you had to go through the examinations, so you have to come. And luckily, we are getting this chance now on campus studies, and for the next 2-3 months, we hope that we will be able to do something for them.
Inshallah, sir, and thank you very
you,
much, gentlemen, for joining us. It was wonderful to have you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really important to speak about the quality of education because we did witness that, you know, in the previous year, the quality of education did go down with the online intervention as well. And now, alhamdulillah, you know, as we move back to being normal, inshallah, very soon, very quickly, we pray to Allah Almighty and we hope for that as well. Everybody needs to contribute. You know, these amazing professors and teachers who are actually you know, looking after so many students out there, and you know, in fact, they're not even looking after the students, they're looking after their future. So I think it's very important that we talk about these issues as well. So we took advantage of the opportunity, we invited them. It was wonderful to have you on our show as well. But there are students who have actually taken advantage of all of this time while the online classes were going on and did
Right.
something really out of the box.
Or productive for that matter.
Yes.
And you have to stay tuned for what that is, because we have one of those students over here in the studios. But right after this short break, we'll be in conversation with them. Stay tuned. Good morning.
Good morning. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into P2 you watching one this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very stunning Shizar Hashmi and Shahzad Hasan Khan. Today, I thought that I can actually play with my audiences as well, not with your feelings.
Oh.
Just like that on a lighter note as well. Jummah Mubarak, everybody. Make sure that you remember us all in your prayers as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as before we headed out towards a break, I was telling you that there are a lot of people who really wanted to do something creative, something productive, something which they can reflect upon in their lives within this time. And they took this time as a blessing in disguise and made sure that they are going to contemplate and comprehend on all of their skill set as well.
Shazad, you know what? This
What a
is
wonderful
really,
thing.
but this is really embarrassing, sort of. For me, I'll tell you why. Because ever since the pandemic started, we have been having people over on the show who've been productive or who've actually done something amazing because they were so free. I didn't do anything. I literally did not do anything out of the box or something unusual that I didn't do before, other than getting married, of course.
That's good.
But I mean, did you?
One goal at a time. I mean, I didn't got married, but I think that I've tried doing a lot of things as well.
Okay.
For example, reading books. For example, listening to new good music. For example, making sure that I'm going to pray 5 times. It's little things. And this is something which I figured out during this period of time as well, that it is always the little things which give you the joy in life.
That is true.
Your parents keep on telling you, beta, kuch bada karo, without having an idea of kya bada karna chahiye
Kya
inko,
karna hai, haan.
or what the kids really needs to do. I think it's always the little things in life which you really need to focus on.
That's
and then when you add those little things, it will be a bigger chunk of your life, which you will really be reflecting upon as, okay, this part of my life is really a blessing from Allah Almighty.
I
And
think
I hope
Auntie-
and pray
yeah.
that everybody thinks like that.
I think Auntie added like an extra spoon of wisdom in your desi ghee today with your paratha because you sound so, nice. So ladies and gentlemen, like we already told you before we went out on a short break, that we will be in conversation with someone who actually utilized the pandemic to bring forth something that is interesting to read, interesting to think about, and then, made a name for himself, of course. It's his first book that he's published, but it's going to launch soon. The book is called Children of the North, and the author happens to be Nidal bin Tahir. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's our
How are
pleasure,
you?
absolutely.
I'm good, very excited for the release of my book.
I think I'm more excited as well because, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest over here. So Nidal actually happens to be a younger brother of one of my class fellows, and both of us, his elder brother and me, we weren't really good students. So all of a sudden, when I got this message that, hey, Shazad bhai, this is something I'm doing, I was like, this is fantastic, and we really want to bring these people forward as well. But
Keep
ladies and
holding
gentlemen, speaking about taking advantage, I think we would love to hear the story from the horse's mouth as well. And how did you come around the idea that, okay, since I have a lot of time, and this is something you've never done before, you weren't a storyteller, you weren't a writer or an author as well, for that matter. How did you do that? Take us through the journey.
Yeah,
And
so
why this? Like, why this story in particular?
yeah, so basically, I've been associated with the field of storytelling since a while. I've got my background in theater, but since the pandemic hit, everything was on lockdown, and I had this story with me since the past 8 years, and I was busy with other projects, but when the pandemic hit, I finally got down to writing for the first time in 15 years. And so basically the story, I'm an avid traveler. I've traveled the whole of Pakistan in the last 10 years. And this story, it's based on a true event. This is the first time I went to the north with 3 of my friends. And we were very young, we were very crazy. And the youth, the embroil of youth was spitting out of us. And we had no idea of how to travel. And we had just seen a photo on the internet of this lake called Asu Lake
Yeah.
in Naran Valley, and we just embarked on the journey. And but you think that you have a plan, but ultimately fate has other plans.
Absolutely.
And that's where the real adventure in the story lies.
Okay, that's
Exactly,
very
and
nice.
it's wonderful as well. So, tell us a little about this story. We do not want you to give away everything, but, so what happened? Because it is based on true events.
Yeah.
It's a non-fiction novel kind of thing as well. So, tell us a little about it, because the title says Children of the North.
Yeah, so basically the title is derived from the fact that we were very young. We were 21, 22 at the time. And we had just seen this photo on the internet of this lake called Asu Lake. And it was the summer holidays, like most of us in the university times. We traveled to the north in the summers. And a friend of mine, that this is before the time that the North just went viral all across
Right.
the world and Pakistan as well. So we saw this photo, and a friend of mine just said that we need to go here because this is where less people go, and that is where the real stories lie.
Okay.
And little did he know that what he was talking about is going to
Be a story.
amalgamate into a novel 8 years afterwards. And we traveled. We had no idea. We just got a jeep from a favor, and we traveled. And
The Jeep was expensive, right?
no,
Did it,
we couldn't even afford the
The
jeep.
fuel expense was quite high, right?
Of course, of course.
I'm not giving it away, but this is the
Okay.
best part over here.
Do you want to read it?
I just read a line, and I think everybody's got such a friend, and it is, where did all the money go? I asked, startled. Yeah, man, how come we're left with so little? Did one sneakily get a gold chain for his lover from him? Oh my God! So everybody is actually focusing on, okay, मैं नाराज गया हूँ, तो मैं उसके लिए ये ले जाता हूँ. So did that really happen?
Yeah, so basically when we lost track of money,
Yeah.
so when you're young, you're just making fun around friends, and so one of my friends joked that did we run out of money because he got a gold chain for his lover from the bazaar. And so one of the main twists is the fact that I'm not going to give the twist away, but
Okay.
how you plan certain things, but you have no idea what fate is going to do with you.
Absolutely. And that's the most interesting part, right? Because there's just, well, intrigue and curiosity in your entire journey. But Nadal, I want to talk about your writing style. I mean, the story is there, of course, and I want you guys to read it rather than us giving it away. What inspires you, or who inspires you, or who was it that you were thinking, oh, this is what I want to sound like when I write?
And that too 8 years later, yeah.
Yeah, so in the pandemic, so I've been a big fan of Enid Blyton and J.K. Rowling
Okay.
since my childhood. But in the recent times, I've been very much inspired by South Asian writers. Mohsin Hamid is one. Khalid Hosseini, the writer of Kite Runner and
Yes.
A Thousand Splendid Suns. So I actually read a lot of South Asian writers just to get a feel of how to narrate stories from this region and appeal to the masses of
And
the
the way
world.
Khalid Hosseini is actually written about Afghanistan, I think it's wonderful, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also, just a while ago, I was reading some of the lines over here, and you were describing probably the route to, up there or something, and just a few lines. I do remember reading Hemingway, an account of his, him being there at the Second World War, and the way he describes nature, it's just something to be inspired by. And I found that in some of your lines over here when you're describing things. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've been very much in the heart of nature since my childhood. I've spent a lifetime in parks and the local Magla Hills.
Yeah.
We're very blessed with the fact that we have hills
I
at
know,
the
thank God.
And we were lucky enough to actually go to schools where there were parks, man. Big parks, big schools.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because sometimes in my Facebook memories, a picture of our college comes in, and this college that we studied from, Shahzad, it was at the foothills of the Maglas,
Exactly.
and from our classes, we could see the
Yeah.
hills. It was just a constant, the
So
mountain.
I
pretty.
mean, only we were in the class.
Yeah.
I think that was one problem. But okay, I think there's a lot to be asked, and that is we will try to justify with our time at our
Yeah.
hands as well. And that is that, so for example, I write rap lyrics, for example. Whenever I have to rap, I make sure that I write my own lyrics. So what I do is that, I will take out a certain number of synonyms, some adjectives, I will put the list right in front of me and
Okay.
then use the right words as well. But when it is about storytelling, you really want to be very creative with your words as well, so that you really do not have to write a long sentence, rather use two words so that the message comes across as well. Now, keeping in mind that it is going to be released on Amazon as well, and it's going to be released world over,
Very
and there are
nice.
people from different perspectives, and everybody wants to be in the shoes of the storyteller. Do you think that people will get the point which you were trying to kind of come across with over here with this book?
Yeah, so here I've been very blessed that I have studied media and communication as a degree, and one of the fortes of my degree was mass communication, and appealing to your audience and being in their shoes and understanding from their perspective as well. So not only just the creative end, but also the audience end. And my novel, since it's mainly for young adults, so it has to be in their language. So it might have some themes that appeal to young adults, and maybe some of the profanity that usually young adults would talk in, and it has to be closer to your audience so that they can relate.
So does it say PG-13?
Is it though?
Because you haven't read a novel that says PG-13. That's a film or a drama.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So how do we refer to a novel where there's a little bit of profanity in it?
Can we categorize?
Well, I did my research and I
don't think so.
found out and I found out that usually the name of the book and so since novels is one of the oldest forms of storytelling, so you would have sections in the library that would do that for you. But since it's on now, everything is online, so you have different sections online as well that would categorize that, but it won't have a label on the book.
Exactly, and that's wonderful as well. So please, very quickly, before we wrap up this segment as well, let us know when the book will be released. How much will it cost? Who can actually get it? Where can we get it from?
So the book is being released locally through merakissa.com. It's by Dasan Publishers. It will be shipped all across the world through there, and on internationally you get the digital copy through Amazon. It's releasing worldwide on the 1st of March.
Right.
And the price you can get there.
Okay.
It's within the range, most definitely.
I think
That's
it's
great.
wonderful.
But Nidal, do we get to see more of your writing in the future? Did you enjoy doing this? Like, is it a thing you think, oh, maybe this should be my career choice in the future?
Yeah, so basically, I'm related to the fields of storytelling, theater, commercials, direction.
But this is different, no?
But this medium has been different, and it has taken me back to my childhood, and I definitely plan to write in the future. But this was an ardent task. It took a while. It took 10 months, 11 months, and who knows what the future is? But I'm definitely looking forward to the response, and hopefully writing. I've got 1,000 stories in my head.
But the creative freedom you must have experienced in doing this as compared to doing an ad or theater for that matter. How was it?
Well, it was addictive to the fact that I was actually telling a lot of my friends who work in television and work in films to get down to writing, because it was such a liberating experience.
I love writing.
And even when in Corona, a lot of people were shackled in their houses, I was probably one of the most liberated people on the planet.
Really?
Wow, and
That's
it's wonderful as well. And how long did it take you to complete the novel?
And then edit and everything.
Yeah, so basically it took me around 11 months.
Yeah.
But this was a story that was 8 years in the making, because this is a story from 2012.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Wonderful, and you're already talking like an author as well. So thank you very much,
I like
Nidal,
it.
for being with us. It was lovely to have you over here on the show as well.
Thank you so much for having
to
me.
promote the kind of work you're doing, and we're always here. Whenever you're coming up with a sequel or a pre-sequel or another novel, please make sure that you let us know, and we'll have you over again.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here always.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. And ladies and gentlemen, it's really very important that you take pride in the kind of work your fellow citizens do. And if you're not going to do so, obviously nobody will do it all over the world as well, which is why I think that it is very important that we talk about our very own mountaineer, Ali Satpara Saab, because the information recently came out as well. And it is sad for all of us as well, and that this gentleman has actually given a lot of name to Pakistan.
Absolutely.
A lot of people used to travel from abroad and come down to Pakistan for the sake of mountaineering or hiking, for that matter, or for summiting. I think that Ali Satpara was a household name as well. Thank God, and I think I will congratulate Mr. Ibrarullah as well, that he's actually announced that he's going to build the dream of Mr. Ali Satpara, that he will actually establish an institute of mountaineering for all of those people who want to be out there.
That is amazing and very, very nice of him as well. But Shahzad, it was just yesterday, like you already mentioned, the family itself, Ali Satpara Sahab's family, along with the, of course, authorities declared the 3 men dead who were reported to well be crossing the bottleneck then, which was so many days ago now. So, of course, they've now been declared dead. Unfortunately, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Our heart and prayers go out to the families. And, well, Ali Satpara, not only for Pakistanis, Shahzad, but for international athletes or stars for that matter. He was an inspiration. I've come across a lot of videos and photos of him together with some, well, brilliant people, and they were just looking at him in awe. I mean, the personality, the aura he had, it's just something else, right? Exactly. And I do remember having, well, some of the family members on our show as well when they were receiving the posthumous award for their father, the national award, and how humble they are and how I feel like they just found a purpose of their life, right?
Exactly, and Shiza, this is something which I wanted to talk about as well. That I believe, and this is something which is going to be with me forever, and that is that actually, he left, or he probably went on to this final journey of his
Doing what
by
he
doing
loves.
something what he loved the most as well.
Absolutely.
And with people like Ali Sadpara, they're so dedicated that they are actually in competition with their own selves. The
Yes.
kind of person they were yesterday, they wanted to be a better version of themselves
Absolutely.
the next day as well. So, and which is something which I want everybody to learn as well. That there needs to be constant progression. Does not really matter, what age you are, or what kind of problems you're facing. Against all odds. I mean, imagine how can anybody think about summiting K2, and that too in winters when it's going to be -70 and the winds are going to be up to
Right.
60 kilometers per hour. And they still took the challenge. And I think it was just because of the fact that these Nepalese people were over here, they did the summit as well. And Ali Sadpara, I believe, had this feeling that, okay, if people from outside the country can do it, we should be actually making sure that it's the Pakistani flag on the top of K2.
Absolutely. And Shazad, you know what? Actually, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, Shazad and I want to make a pledge. I don't know if I use the right word. We want to plead, actually, to the authorities, if they're listening right now, that we have seen some amazing hundreds of athletes over here in the show, in our studios, who do not get the right kind of attention or sponsorship for that matter, or the right kind of investment for that matter. And that's the reason Pakistani athletes do not get recognized at a level that they should be, right, Shazad? Wolverine, for example, for that
Exactly.
matter,
Ahmed
right?
Mustafa, yeah.
Don't I want to see the faces of these amazing athletes on the boxes of probably, well, healthy biscuits for that matter, or healthy drinks for that matter, rather than a celebrity who's just get, paid to do their makeup? I don't want to see
It's a
that.
conflict of interest, yes.
No,
but
I mean, Shazad, you know what I'm saying, right?
I think there
mean,
can
when-
always be a balance.
no, for the right kind, for the right thing, the right person, this is what I stand for. And this is probably a moment that we all should realize and come together as a nation to promote our athletes. I
Exactly.
hope you all are in an
And
on our
not just
cause
that,
as
for all
well.
of those people who might not know about Ahmed Mustafa, ladies and gentlemen, he's a mixed martial artist as well who actually fights for ONE FC.
Yes.
Just very recently, he made sure that he's going to defeat his counterpart in India. The fight took place in Singapore, and he actually knocked him out in 56 seconds. Now, this gentleman has
Wow.
been doing it all by himself. There's been no government support. He's been,
No training.
ever since he got back, after this amazing victory. I think Governor of Balochistan or Sindh have invited him over for a meet and greet session. But there's no, no finances being given to him so that he can actually follow his dream and represent Pakistan. And then he's only making one simple request, and that is that Prime Minister Imran Khan invites him and just congratulate him for the kind of work he's done. And that too, our premier being a sports person, ladies and gentlemen, or a sportsman for that matter, I think that we can do quite a lot for all of these gentlemen who are making sure that they're going to bring good name to Pakistan.
Absolutely. And on this note, we are going to, well, close the show for today. And we'll see you guys, inshallah, on Monday. I hope you guys have a great, great weekend. And you too, Shazad, because I
Thank
know it's
you.
going to be off for you.
Yes.
If you have any questions, any feedback, do write to us to let us know on our Facebook page with the
World
name
This
of-
Morning.
on Twitter,
World This Morning without a G.
on YouTube.
On YouTube, you look for PT World, and then the most viewed show, alhamdulillah, on PT World is World This Morning.
Yes, and the repeat of this one you may catch at
5 past midnight. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good
morning.
morning.
Take
Jummah
care.
Mubarak.